I'm never gonna dance again. Dancing feet of God, no rhythm. Yes, guys, welcome back to the unhinged, the undefeated, and unbreakable TCP Live, coming at you live at 7:33 p.m. every Thursday evening on YouTube and available ad-free on YouTube memberships and Patreon. Hi, Rohan.
Hi.
Why are you in such a bad mood? I think I know the answer, but you've been fuming
No,
for
I'm
about
okay.
3 weeks.
I'm feeling better today. But yesterday, I remember waking up and thought, "Oh, I've got to do a rewatch with that guy."
That mug, that stupid,
and that was like the thing.
Stupid curly-haired guy. Yeah,
that was the thing I was dreading. And I didn't watch the game yesterday between Spurs and Liverpool. I was like, "No, I'm not watching football." I watched Squid Game season 2 actually. 5 episodes.
Just started season 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd never seen. Well, I think I'd seen up to the point where. Can I do a spot? Right, there's a spoiler coming for Squid Game. If you haven't seen,
actually, season 1 was ages ago. Yeah, that was ages.
You're as bad as me. Basically, the red light, green light thing where they'll get shot, and I was just like, I think I just switched off. I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. Thing is, though, as you get in, once you watch more episodes, it gets good.
No. I'm into it now. I'm like four or 5 episodes into season 1.
Yeah.
They've done 2 challenges, but yeah, it's very good. It's pretty mad. I was reading up about it as well. The guy who what's the word? Like conceived it. He had it for like 15 years before it even got anywhere near TV. So if you have a script, you have a novel, you haven't got anywhere near TV, you want to get it on, I don't know, you want to get something published, believe in yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Even Squid Game took 15 years.
Yeah.
Even Squid Game. Thank you all for being here. Michael says, I thought we weren't having one today. Therapy session in effect. Yes, guys, come in for your Arsenal therapy. Good evening, gents. Need this waffle/therapy session more than ever. What a depressing week to be an Arsenal fan. Yes, indeed. Casper's Clips, thank you so much. He's in the house. Jim Milton says, if there isn't a 60-minute slander session on our captain, I'm out. Jim.
Yeah.
Jim's a great name. Jim, we will be talking about lots of things. At the end of the show, I want to do like a half-hour Q&A session. Get to as many as we can. So if you stick around, for the 10 of you who will be watching this evening live, yes. But we haven't done yet, Rohan, as we've got to do, thumbnail check. So first and foremost, let me show you the thumbnail. I've gone for a slightly different approach to a thumbnail. Basically, I was thinking about how YouTube works this week, because these are the things I have to do. And basically, when you have a thumbnail as opposed to people's faces on a live thing, it tends to perform a little bit better. We want as many people as possible to come watch us. But this is the thumbnail this week. This will be on the which I kind of prefer, like a thumbnail reveal. So I'll defend Forder slightly. He forgot, and I will say in terms of pulling out a thumbnail out your ass.
Yeah. This is.
I
think it's good. I don't think it's
bad.
Good. It's not his best.
Your best work. It's not your best work, but equally, you've got to go with the form of Arsenal, haven't you? You've got to go with a sort of what we're saying in the chat.
I'll give it a solid 7. A solid 7.
Yeah, I'll give it a 6.5. I'll give it a 6.5. It works.
In uni, that is a 2-1. So
exactly. We take that.
That's all you need.
We've also got Forder himself is saying 2. I think that's harsh, mate.
No, it's very harsh. It's very harsh.
It's better than a 2.
I like it.
You've pulled out some of the best work we've ever seen on a thumbnail. Do you know what I mean? So
exactly. You've literally created a calendar as well. Like
exactly,
he's just unstoppable.
Exactly. This guy. Do
you know what is woke though, Alexander?
Go on. What is woke?
Sean Dyche getting sacked. That is woke.
He's gone.
That's woke.
We'll come to that in just a second.
Oh, so annoying. Liverpool, they won't face that Sean Dyche dangerous physical mid-block now. It's going to be David Moyes' dangerous physical mid-block.
Yeah, what's this thing about going back to Moyes? I really don't.
Give it to Moyes at the end of the season.
Give it Moyes at the end of the season. I was because I tweeted out give it Yova to the end of the season during the second half of the Newcastle game. Too many people took me seriously for my liking. We also, of course, have the kind of the TCP Live ratings. Basically, the question was. There was one from Patrick Walters who said, Alex, 8 out of 10, played a great secondary role as the pivot man for Rohan's elite airplane waffle throughout the pod.
That's still
Rohan,
annoying
9 out of
today.
10. The fact he didn't end the story with things kicking off is the only reason it doesn't get a 10 out of 10.
I agree, actually. I think I should have kicked off. 100%.
Yeah. But
100%.
we need to set what the things are, like what the metrics are.
What the categories.
I'm saying expected waffle, expected ball knowledge, expected laughs, maybe.
How do we define
pressure
that, though?
yourself to be funny?
Yeah, then
it's up to the audience.
Yeah, that's okay.
I think expected wokeness, and we're gonna have one more for 4. Expected caveats. No.
Nah.
Okay,
it's got to be something like embarrassing.
I tell you what. Expected lateness, and that's on me. Those are the 4. Expected waffle.
Yeah.
Expected ball knowledge. Expected wokeness. Expected lateness.
So yeah,
I should get a 10 out of 10 if I'm on time.
That's true. So we have to be honest. Yeah, we have to be completely honest in terms of our punctuality.
Yeah. So those are the 4. We've set them now, so that's going to happen. Right. Let's talk football. JD says expected Arteta bootlicking. JD, I saw you comment on something today. It's funny because you have a profile picture.
I don't think he likes us.
I don't think you like us, do you? Go on, tell us, because we did a video. We did a rewatch of the Newcastle game, and then we did a three what's the word? Like a 3 things we learned type thing. And at the end we said, of course, here come the excuses or reasons, dependent on your thoughts. I expect you might think they're excuses, JD. So tell us, come on, let's have a debate. Tom Osborne is a new member. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Want to come to Newcastle? I want to come to January. I want to come to the Edu rumours. I want to come to Thomas Rositzky. I want to come to putting the season into perspective and sort of the Arteta conversation. And I want to do a Q&A. So that's sort of the menu. Why do Liverpool need Kvaratskhelia?
Is that the link?
That's the latest link from Ornstein. As we go live, Ornstein is saying that Liverpool are looking at Kvaratskhelia.
They've already got Diaz there. They've got Jota there. Who can play there? Nunes can play there. Gakpo. It's like, we love our defenders. They love their attackers.
They have Diaz, Gakpo, Jota, Nunes, who can all play there, and they're looking at Kvaratskhelia for £80 million. Okay, genuine question. At what point in like the January window do you start to go, actually, this is late? Like, it's still the 9th of January, so I don't think we can jump too early. But at what point can we say,
when you get to the 20th, is
very the 20th, late. So 10 days.
Can't lie, I wouldn't get your hopes up, to be honest. I don't think we're going to do anything. I said it last pod as well. I don't think we're going to do anything. It's the gut feeling I have. And if we do something, it's going to be Joan Garcia.
Yeah.
No, it can't be. However, if Bradley Barcola becomes available, right? Oh my god! Like, I never envisaged a situation in which Bradley Barcola would become available, because I genuinely felt PSG would build their team around him. But now there is rumours with the Kvaratskhelia links. I think it's to PSG.
It is Kvaratskhelia.
Kvaratskhelia.
I
didn't say Kov. I did not say Kov. Kvaratskhelia.
Kvaratskhelia. Yeah.
That guy links to PSG.
Call him Kvara. KK.
And I think, if that opens the possibility of Bradley Barcola, I think Arsenal should be all over that, because he literally is the perfect Arteta type winger. Look at his... I know you're smiling there. Actually, to be fair, I can see that. But yeah, I think in terms of, like, if you could build a winger in a lab, like, Bradley Barcola would be very close to what Arteta would like. Physical, tall, athletic, intense, 1v1s. obviously raw in certain aspects, but in terms of the quality as an out-and-out winger and what our team needs, it'd be top, And we'll get into the Newcastle game and how I think there is, and we did the rewatch obviously, which was for me very painful because I watched the first half before we did it, and then I watched it again. So I watched the first half 3 times now, and I think there are things that we saw in that game that Newcastle did in which they didn't respect us, and yeah, we'll get into that for sure.
Yeah. Just to think though, I mean, we'll kind of come on to a wider conversation about January in a second, but like the winger market with Marmoush moving, with Kvaratskhelia moving, with Rashford moving, with I think there's a couple of other players who are Kang In Lee potentially moving from PSG. There's quite a lot of sort of quite high level wingers who are moving, and it's not just the players who are moving; it's who's losing out at this club or that club or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm looking at situations like Sane and Comans in terms of their contract conversations, etc., etc. What Arteta has said about signings is if something unbelievable comes up, which sounds like more of a situational thing, which I don't agree with, but I kind of understand.
Yeah.
Are these not surely something in this comes to a situation where you there's someone who is involved in these sort of what would it be domino effects that we can pick up? No, surely.
No, 100%. And like you've named, a handful of high profile.
Leao's on the bench. Sorry to cut you off. Leao's on the bench at Milan at the moment.
But there's also players, which we don't know about who have ridiculous talent as well, and that's what your scouting team is for, isn't it? There are always players available. Now, I think I do agree with the idea that the January market is very difficult to price away certain players. Like, for example, Mateus Cunha, right? That would be a very difficult deal to do anyway because of where Wolves are, the value of staying in the Premier League and what he's worth to that team. Losing him mid-season, they're going to be asking for astronomical money. And that's where you have to sit there and think, yes, we are desperate, but we can't go a longer road that could have bad implications later down the line. And not in terms of like preventing someone else from breaking into the team, but how we're viewed in the market. And we've seen what Manchester United have done over the years. That's not to say that Arsenal shouldn't overspend if there is a player available that we really, really like. But there has to be some reasoning behind it as well, And but I think in Europe there are good opportunities to do that. I don't know many names because I've not had the time to watch lots of football across Europe. But there's always players available. But I think in the Premier League it becomes a lot more difficult to price away certain players, despite the fact that we are the Arsenal, so.
Yeah, fine. I mean, we have to be realistic. Mafia says, I think of a super chat, Nelly versus Clara per 97, GA versus 8, 1.6 dribbles versus 1.4, 1.6 key passes versus 2 in Serie A and one of the stars of his team. I don't know which way round that is, but pretty similar numbers. Yeah, I don't. I'll be honest. In terms of the player himself in Kvaratskhelia, I've never quite seen it personally. I don't watch enough of him to be able to sort of give you a full here's why. But whenever I've seen him, I've gone, he's okay. I don't think he's got the physical attributes that I would like in a winger. But it's not really the point. It's more that a rival, a team above us who clearly don't have an issue in that way, and where we're crying out. The club have admitted we're crying out. I think I was thinking about this today. The players must know as well. Like the players, like Declan Rice follows Lee Gunner on Instagram. Like he must know what the fans think. Yeah. They must know what the fans think. And they must be thinking like, could do, playing against Isak could do with him. Do you know what I mean? There's another aspect here. We just think about the ball, but surely the players have conversations. The players, I'm not saying they listen to this podcast, but they listen to the media and they listen to Sky Sports and whatever, and they'll know the conversations and the narratives. And actually, I think they should know the narratives around the club as well. It's important for them too. They will be wanting a signing as well, because they'll just be thinking, how much time do we, think about it. How much time do they spend trying to break down blocks and the ball comes into Havertz, so he shoulders it. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, bring back the world of teletext and just no social media and just
bring it back.
Yeah, bring it back. In which, it's
all gone woke. I will say, Sean Dyche. That we sort of mentioned earlier. The fact that he's gone is sad, and I can't see him going back in the league. Yeah. I think everyone's going to this kind of model of trying to be, Brighton, Bournemouth, Brentford type teams, and they're not going to sign a Dyche type coach.
But
I'll miss him.
But this is, I think, so you know how we spoke about it. I think, I don't know how much you can compare it to the past, but I generally think now the modern day, in terms of structures that you see, and this is why I think you need to dive deeper into the intentions of a team as opposed to just looking purely at the structure. You know, you see Ipswich, you see Southampton previously under Russell Martin, the way they play, the way they set up. It's very similar in terms of structurally to some of the big teams, you know, but they don't have the quality to be able to do it consistently. And that's why they drop a lot of points. That's why they leak a lot of goals. It's the same with Luton last season, you know, so there's a lot of similarity between teams in terms of how they set up. And that can play to your advantage as a coach, because you can look at Vincent Kompany, for example, in which he stuck by his principles and his way of playing. It was looked upon naive. Certainly, a lot of pundits didn't agree with how he was setting his team up, and you know they I think they finished bottom or maybe 19th behind Sheffield United. But he kind of like used Burnley as a sacrificial lamb to get that job, you know, at Bayern Munich, because they recognised what he could do. Now, in Sean Dyche's case, I think he's a really, really underrated manager, you know, and with the resources that he's had at Burnley and Everton as well, and the players that they have at his disposal, he's done a really good job in terms of being able to keep Everton up, you know, and also the times in which he's kept Burnley up as well. But because of how they play and because how he's adapted to the players that he has at his disposal, that I think will limit him in terms of future opportunities to get better clubs, you know. So it's like it's Dyche is doing such a good job by adapting, but I'm very certain that the way that Everton play in the games outside of the big teams they face, you know, that's not how he wants to play, but he's had to adapt to the players. Whereas other coaches like Vincent Kompany, the players have to adapt to his ideas, but the players don't have the quality to be able to do it consistently. But Kompany, it's going to be better for him because teams are looking at how he sets them up, and it gives you better opportunities later down the line.
Yep. What's that noise?
Oh, it was sorry.
Sound like a train. Not your chair, was it? Vivlad says Dyche is part of a dying breed, elite curry knowledge too, and that's another thing. We're gonna lose the curry knowledge from the league.
There's so many good comps on Dyche, like around.
But this is the thing. Is like, okay, are we slightly? We joke about the wokeness, but are we? You know, West Ham going for Potter and Bournemouth with Iraola and you know Ipswich with McKenna.
Yeah,
I understand. Like, it's the right thing to do for football, but are we going to miss those?
Sam Allardyce's,
the characters in the league. I think we're going to miss it a little bit. I want that, and it's funny because also I think we as English fans like laugh a little bit at a Big Sam or whatever, but people like Pep, they really respect people like Sam Allardyce. They properly respect them. Obviously they don't like the football, but in terms if you look at you sort of said it in terms of Dyche, if you look at money spent per point, I bet he's right up there. But probably in terms of position, probably 8th, 9th or something in the league in terms of, you know, his time in the league. I'm sure he's right up there, as in comparison to his sort of where his teams are, which is usually obviously around relegation form. So yeah, it is a shame. It's a shame.
I mean, like Sam Allardyce, for example, you know, he said one thing that, you know, people, I don't think you can really, I don't know, I can't disagree with it, right? So Sam Allardyce once said, you know, he spoke about how modernized football has become in terms of the trends, the sequences, how you play out from the back, etc. But he mentioned, like in this interview, that despite all this, fans, there are not many better things in football in which you get it down the byline, you cross it, and a big man is in the box, and bang, header, top bins. You know, that's those things that have always been there in football. Those still generate sometimes the best feelings. I know for me, like, you know, even like corners, for example, against Spurs at White Hart Lane, the Saka corner, Gabriel, bang, 1-0. You know, that's for me one of my favorite goals of the season. You know, and it's just kind of very traditional as well, isn't it?
Yep.
So there are things in the past, you know, that still will always be there and will, I think, generate better feeling, you know, for fans. You know, I reckon, you know, like a really good possession sequence. Like, do you remember all those years ago? Kind of like people see it as the turning point of the project against Southampton, which, you know, the first 20 minutes was really poor. But then we had that goal where Lacazette scores that we play out from the back. We do really well to get into that situation. He scores. And we were all really happy with that. But I reckon if you asked a lot of fans what feeling is better, something like that, as opposed to something like just very simple, I still think a lot of people will move towards the simple things as well because
I would agree
of
with
how
you.
impulsive it is.
I said this we're kind of jumping forward a little bit in my plan, but who cares? I said this in sort of the conversations around Arteta.
Yeah.
I feel at the moment, Ultra Pro Gamer. Let's handle a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Noah Okafor is going to Leipzig. Could we get Šeško? I don't know who Noah Okafor is, but again, this is another player. In terms of a knock-on effect, this is a really active January window. I would be surprised if we look back at the end of January and we're not. This isn't one of the most active. City moving for 2 players, fixing the problems that they've got in the first half of the season in January. There is a lesson to be learned here. You know, this idea, I don't want to see anyone saying there's nothing to be done in January, because if the market is active, okay, you might be paying a slightly bigger price, but if the market is active, you've got the conditions. The reason it's difficult in January is because nothing's happening. And that person's not moving, so they can't replace them, and that's it just freezes up, and that's why it's difficult. But that's not what we're seeing in January, so even more reason to sign.
But it's interest, within around Europe, isn't it? I don't know if there's been a lot of movement in terms of the big teams looking at other Premier League clubs. I think it's more exploring the European market, isn't it, in terms of finding solutions, which I think there is better scope there in terms of value and the opportunity to sign, because everyone wants to come to the Premier League as well in terms of the finances and everything. So yeah,
I mean, and if you don't want to spend the money, there's loan options out there as well. So it's not even about money. Just to sort of come back to what we were saying, like, I do think one of my you mentioned this before around Arteta and kind of him being too mathematical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons it's brilliant, and we've sort of spoken about this idea that Mikel, he's probably the way he views football is if I get the most box touches and if I get the most final third entries and I get the most zone 14 touches and I have the highest XG, whatever, in the end, I'm increasing. It's just maths. I'm going to increase my chances of winning. And I get that. And he's got us here so far. But one of the things that you can't put on a spreadsheet is the feeling an attacker gives you.
Yeah.
You can't. And you defend it differently. And you watch Isak, and the way it's not just that Liverpool are winning, it's the way they are winning. 6-3.
Yeah.
6-3. Okay, they are not perfect. And if Mikel's watching that in terms of his game model, he's going, well, it's not going well, and there's a lot of things I need to correct, because as we say in terms of the conservative principles about using the wide areas and how he, the player profiles and the physicality and the duels, and we've spoken about this, however many times. But in his mind, 6-3 is not a failure because you've won, but there's a lot going wrong there. Whereas I think an Arne Slot goes, great. Okay, we conceded 3 goals, but we absolutely the feeling coming away from that game is that Liverpool are, wow, they're scary. That is what they are. They're scary. And I miss when Arsenal had attackers who made teams scared. We just don't. Honestly, I think centre-backs think they can deal with Havertz. I think centre-backs think they can deal. Full-backs think can deal with Martinelli and Trossard. It's not even just the quality and the profiles, whatever. It's the feeling that you can't put through a spreadsheet. Oh, Martinelli creates XA, or Trossard has got 6 XG, or whatever. That's all stuff that we can see, but stepping onto a pitch, you can't quantify how it feels in the tunnel next to someone when you're going, you're good, mate. You are good.
I mean, the best example that we have that's very recent to memories is the Palace 5-1 win, right? And you look at what Mikel said post-match, he mentioned a lot, and this is where I talk about the mathematical side of things. It's not a case of he's deluded. People say, oh, he's becoming Ten Hag in terms of what he's saying. No, what he's saying is correct. It's mathematically correct, right? In that game, he mentioned how Palace generated really big moments. We didn't do well enough. And he's kind of giving you a really good indication of that was by far nowhere near a game that he likes, Whereas an Ipswich game, for example, I can guarantee you, if you asked Mikel what game did he prefer, the Ipswich game or the Palace game, 100% he would have preferred the Ipswich game. Now, 100%. The Ipswich game, I'll maintain that we left 2 more goals on the pitch, at least in that game, in my opinion. Gabriel missed from a yard out, right? But, and for me, this is why I think, Arsenal are going through a bad patch. Therefore, a lot of people are going to latch on to things, and they're going to question the game model, everything, etc. And that's fair. That's your opinion. I don't hold that view. I think Arsenal's game model has so many good points to it, and I believe in Arsenal's game model. But there are certain things that we can tweak, and we've mentioned it. And we'll probably talk about it as well. In terms of what Liverpool do really well, that we don't do really well. And actually, this isn't an Arne Slot thing. Jurgen Klopp's teams over the years have been. If you ask a lot of neutral fans, they will say they prefer watching Jurgen Klopp teams than Pep Guardiola teams because of how direct, how fast-paced, and how transitional it is. It's very much a boxing game, a boxing match in which you throw a punch and we'll take a punch. But I back us to stand. We have the better chin and you will get knocked out. That is how they view it. And they do it convincingly as well. It's not a case of, it's unsustainable. It could be unsustainable over a season, and it has shown to be because Liverpool have not been able to get over the line against Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, but there are things that we can learn. And I think it's the concept of rest attack, which I've mentioned last season as well. And I'm looking at Liverpool, I'm looking at Real Madrid. These are teams who are so, so good at it. And that's something we can learn from. We're elite in so many aspects, but there are things in our attacking play, not everything. I don't buy that Arsenal are, just generally poor attacking wise, but there are certain things that we don't do well enough, and we can learn from them, as you mentioned in your video as well that you've recently uploaded. So
I want to comment this from Jay Walker. That's why Liverpool have won six leagues in the last 7 years. Oh no, wait, no one is, and I hope you don't get you don't get us wrong. No one is saying, you've got the City game model and the Liverpool game model and the Arsenal game model. No one is saying we all want to go here. I don't want to be playing 6-3 games, frankly. I don't want to be, if you're talking about the Ipswich and the Palace game, I don't want the Palace game very often because it makes it I want to win.
Yeah, you feel on edge. I don't know, you feel on edge. Yeah.
It gives you, and Liverpool are very good at that. And maybe as a fan, but from Arsenal right now, in terms of where we are, in terms of the squad we built with Arteta, it makes sense to be this controlled, dominant team who are dueling you, who are winning in that way. However, as we've spoken about, you can look at Liverpool and go, there's something we can. There's something we can take from that. It's not. Sorry, go on.
No, but just in replying to that comment, but that's the point I made was when you look at Pep Guardiola versus Jurgen Klopp, look at their two game models. Pep Guardiola's game model has been superior. They have won the league titles for a reason. But that is not to say that we can't take things from Liverpool's game model. And that's why I back our game model. I don't sit in this camp of Arsenal should be moving way towards that Liverpool game model. I really believe in our model because we have seen it over 2 successive seasons. And yes, you can say, there wasn't the big trophy there, nor were there cups. And that's fine. But I think there is strong evidence to suggest that there is so much sustainability with the way that we have played. But there are flaws in our game model, and we can learn from it. And that's what
here says basically the end of 23-24. I think that's when everyone would point to as basically that's the point where Arsenal were playing unbelievable unbelievable defensive football. Like our defensive numbers were insane at that point, right? But also we were scoring enough goals. And that's the holy grail. That's the holy grail at sort of that period, and that's what we're sort of referring to. Lonely Bean, Doku, Luis Diaz, stretch. Madueke shouldn't be allergic to buy from big clubs. We should have tried for Julian Alvarez too. We need to show an arrogance in the window. I don't know, mate, on Doku and Diaz and Madueke. I think they're probably unavailable, certainly this window. And I don't know if I think Doku is the right player for us. Maybe Doku, maybe. I've liked Madueke in the past, but regardless, I like your last point, the arrogance, the idea that this is, we've spoken about this with Semenyo, right? People are like, well, Bournemouth wouldn't sell mid-season. Shut up. I've been to the Bournemouth Stadium. It's a mess. like grow up. We're Arsenal. There's honestly, mate, like Dean Court is a mess that they're trying to move. Like, I'm telling you, we're Arsenal. Like, come on. This idea that we can't go there and just say we've got enough money and your player wants to come to us because we're Arsenal. Oh, they wouldn't sell mid-season. Shut up. It's Bournemouth. Like, know who you are, please. So that I really do agree with, and I've said that before. But yeah, going to a Liverpool or Chelsea or a City or whatever it is, that's a more complicated thing.
Yeah, it is difficult. I think the European market, those where I'm thinking there's good value there.
Matthew says Paul and Real give attacking freedom, not playing wing backs. Well, this is sorry to plug the rewatch again, but this is another conversation that we had about yesterday. Is in our model at the minute, our eights. Actually, we'll get this on the tactics board. Let me just get this up. Sorry, 1 second. But basically, we were discussing about moving Lewis Skelly inside the block. At the moment, when we have, so I'm just doing this on the fly, so forgive me. Let me share my screen.
Can you see my screen? Can you see my window? Hang on. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Here we are.
Now I can.
At the moment, in a lot of games, let me just get rid of that for 1 second. We have behind the ball, we have MLS. What is he, 49? Mars is 49?
I'm really bad at numbers. Maybe.
I think he's 49.
God knows.
We have MLS in this position, and within the block against that Newcastle, it was like a 5-5, wasn't it? It was literally
4-5-1, 4-5-5. Yeah.
But they dropped into, in the end, Tonali was dropping in here, so it was literally by the end of that game, it was a 5-5. And this is okay. So this is again a conversation that Rohan and I had on the pod, but in terms of blocks and stuff. This isn't we talk about mid blocks and whatever. Not every team plays there. Some teams play on the edge of their box, then you need a different profile. Some teams play further up the pitch. But I think one of the issues and one of the reasons that Arsenal have had issues with mid blocks is because the player receiving in this block in Declan Rice is a brilliant player, but his strengths don't come with that pass inside here and taking it on the half turn and maybe making a perfectly weighted pass here. And then on the other side, if you think about it, the player who's in the block in these situations is Martin Ødegaard, who probably would prefer to drop out and can probably receive between the lines, probably a little bit better than Rice. Let me just put Timber in here. Probably can receive better in between the lines, but probably physically is going to be knocked off the ball a little bit easier, right? Than say, I don't know, Morgan Gibbs-White or someone else who's sort of a little bit more physical, Morgan Rogers or someone like that,
Musiala,
right?
yeah.
Musiala, exactly. One of the frustrations is I think it's quite a simple fix. And I think when we have these fullbacks who are so adept at receiving in tight areas, I want to see that swap, especially in these types of games at the moment. I mean, long term, I'd just rather see Musiala there and we just have a different conversation. Yeah. But in the short term, having these fullbacks is a blessing. It really is. And I don't know if we always use them. We're seeing Timber here, and you've mentioned it before. Timber's passing gets better the closer he is to goal, as you mentioned before. Yeah. He's here. Timber doesn't play that pass, but Ødegaard does. And we have fullbacks that can take it and carry through. And it's one of the frustrations in the rewatch. But one of the reasons I think these blocks do affect us is because so often we are playing like this and we can't find that pass inside unless we have Thomas Partey, who might be able to play a sort of more risky pass. But that was one of the things we discussed yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, but this is one of the frustrations I've had, because when I look at Timber and Calafiori, right, if you ask a lot of Arsenal fans, and me included, in terms of dynamism and in terms of flexibility in the zones that you drift in, Timber and Calafiori and Mars Lewis-Skelly in terms of being able to play inside the block because he is a midfielder by trade. That is, for me, was something that would give Arsenal more unpredictability and different ways of being able to attack. Granted, the structure might be the same, but adding different players to different areas in which they're very comfortable in terms of turning, driving, and opening the game up. I thought that would be the ploy, but I've not seen it enough. And this isn't to say that Timber and Mars Lewis-Skelly should always be inside the block. No, but it's about where I'd want my players to be predominantly. And I don't want Declan Rice in possession to be predominantly between the lines. I mentioned it, and I'd be a hypocrite to say that, I didn't like the idea, because before the game, I felt Declan Rice in that left central midfield role in this game made sense to me out of possession because of what he offers you in the press, high up the pitch. And we saw it against Newcastle last season, in which we won 4-1. Declan Rice had an outstanding game in terms of stepping onto the pivot, causing problems. And I felt that was a good idea. But in possession, when we have the ball, I just don't like the way we use him, and I feel we've got $100 million player and we're asking him to be David Silva, in possession. And I struggle to understand that, and
just to come back to Super Chat quickly, that's what I was referring to in terms of we're not, because we have the sort of fullbacks that don't create that width. That's fine, but then I want them as much inside as possible. And when I feel like they're the better option in there, I think the point on Rice is brilliant and true. And I think it's a frustration that is just generally to his conservative principles, isn't it? And we can't be hypocrites. It's worked a lot. It has worked a lot. It's got us to this point. I believe Mikel's game model, and I believe in Mikel as a development of his game model. It's unbelievable what this guy's done. Let's not rewrite history, what he's done. But we've reached an idea. We've reached a point where maybe we need to change something. I think everyone feels that. We've gone from a counter-attacking ball over the top to Aubameyang, Pepe, Lacazette, Aubameyang front three, with wing-backs and, Maitland-Niles pulling inside occasionally, through to that team that started to maybe with sort of Lacazette as the false nine and Tierney bombing on with Martinelli, and that sort of era with Smith Rowe, which is a more of a sort of 4-2-3-1. Then we went to the inverted fullback with Zinchenko. Then we've gone through sort of various iterations of the 4-2-4, whatever. I do think there's a lot of credence in this idea that Mikel was scarred by the end of 22-23 and has gone in his mind, I need physically dominant players to go and win this league. I've got my Sakas, I've got my Martinellis, I've got my Odegaards. I need big space beaters, right? I think we've now gone too far that way. I think we've focused, and that, by the way, I understand that as long as we correct it now. As long as in the next few signings, I see, we've made that mistake, and now we're going to recorrect.
Well, I mean, how many times I've been saying this for well over a year. That game was, and do you remember we did a pod, right, in which we looked at game-defining moments in Mikel Arteta's tenure, and we put that game right at the top because for me, that game was in which Arsenal adopted a different mindset under Mikel. It's not a case of Arsenal structurally change. Arsenal structurally are very consistent in what they do, but it's the mindset and what we do with the ball and the intention. Now that season, 22-23, and there is a lot of context in terms of teams respecting us more now than they did there. So there is that thing that you need to consider. But Arsenal were very, very vertical in that 22-23 season, and we had really good moments. I think the joy came a lot more down to the fact that nobody expected Arsenal to be where they were. But the point stands in terms of how we played. It was very vertical, and at times that came as a consequence in terms of the number of transitions we were conceding and the chances that we were letting the opposition have. And that Manchester City game was a very naive moment from Mikel in terms of how much we pressed with Rob Holding at the back, going man to man against Erling Haaland.
He admitted that was a mistake though. Later
he admitted it, and do you remember Bernardo Silva? Right. So last season when we went to the Etihad and we got the 0-0, Bernardo Silva was asked, "What's the difference between Arsenal in 22-23 when you beat them 4-1 to now?" And obviously we had a much better team, right? We had Saliba there with Gabriel, but he said in that game, in the 4-1, which we lost, Arsenal were very much, they tried to press really high. They tried to go every single time City were building out, and they went 1v1s, 50-50s across the whole pitch. And he said, when the game becomes 50-50s, it's about quality. And Man City have more quality than Arsenal. And what did Arsenal do at the Etihad? They weren't baited into doing certain things. It goes all the way back to the Community Shield game as well, in which we beat Manchester City and we became a lot more conservative and a little bit more controlled. And we have gone too far towards the opposite end, but I'll maintain that I think for me, the best version of Arsenal under Mikel Arteta, the most sustainable version, is back end of 2024, in which we're operating at 100-point pace. I think that period of Arsenal may not have been as exciting as the first 19 games of the 22-23 season, which we accumulated 50 points, right? But I back that 2024 team to be more sustainable. But now we're going a little bit too far towards the opposite end of the spectrum. And that's where we can learn things from Liverpool. Like, how many times have you seen when Liverpool win the ball back high, McAllister, first time ball vertical, straight. First time ball, they get shot off. We don't do certain things like that. And
I back, and again, this sort of comes back to the Liverpool point from earlier. And you were sort of alluding to it. It was 22-23 was so exciting, also partly because of how quick we were. And I think that does add to how people feel about teams. I 100% believe it. Like how quickly you move the ball up the pitch. It actually doesn't matter long term whether you win or whatever, but that's exciting. People like the speed of it, right? I wonder whether, and 22-23, he sort of went, right, I need more defenders and I need to stabilize this team. And that probably actually was the right call, because it produced what we did in 23-24. Then this year again, he went, okay, that worked last year. And if I get even more strong and more stable, I'm going to win the league. And he went the wrong way. Yeah. Or if he'd done Calafiori Marina and an attacking signing, and again, we have to say it's not just him. It's not just him. But yeah, I mean, we were yeah, let's sort of pause there because I want to come on to some other things because we'll have a sort of wider conversation about Mikel a bit later. I'm sure will come up many times. Ismail says, "Yo, you guys stress more than the club itself. Ha ha ha. I guarantee you, and this is what I love about Mikel. I bet he is the most stressed out of anyone.
Yeah.
He loves this club, man. Like you might like him, you might not. I don't at any point question whether he cares
And we're
about
not
the club.
we're talking about Arsenal in the context of winning the league, Arsenal in the context of winning trophies. It's not the doom and gloom of Arsenal in a crisis. I push back on that idea of Arsenal. I've seen so many things on X recently and think, goodness me, it is obviously frustrating, but there has to be context applied as well. And
it's a vocal minority. I
Yeah,
really do genuinely believe like. And people will say, "Oh no, mate, like whatever." But I always make this point, don't I? Like, but it's so true. Like, if you ask like your Arsenal supporting uncle, who just isn't anywhere near social media, they're always like, "Yeah, it's a bit of a shame this season. Something's going off, but hopefully we'll turn it around the second half."
Yeah,
that's it. It's just like most fans are pretty much like that. Simon says, "Hypno says, if there ever was a time for Draxler to save us, here's a question: you can sign." One of the like perennially linked Draxler, Solomon Kalou, Thomas Lamar, Gonzalo Higuain, prime for this team. Who do you sign?
Oh, but can we go to Benzema as well? I think we can go to Benzema as well. Benzema was linked heavily.
Benzema, yeah.
Oh my god, we cook. I've said it right. I'll give you this question.
Jan and Villa.
What player in the Emirates era would you take in this Arsenal team right now? Like, you can pick any player. I know mine.
Alexis Sanchez. Sanchez.
Mine's RVP. RVP in this team. Oh my god.
That would work too, but I think Alexis Sanchez.
I mean, Sanchez would cook as well, but RVP, mate.
Mate, Gorkov. Oh my god, this is when
I remember that.
Any French player was just linked to us. Just anyone.
Was he Montpellier? Was it? I think it was.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. Anyone else? Oh, we got a mini here we go. From what? We got a mini here we go for what? Don't do this to me. Don't do this. Imagine we're live on stream. We get a here we go for like something crazy.
Arsenal re-signing Lord Bentner.
You see Monaco are signing Mika Birith.
Yeah, saw that. Wonder what.
Do you know what I hate? Right.
Courses.
I will say this. Look, we've spent Sonogo, Khedira, mate. Khedira was constantly linked. Constantly.
Brother, we need forwards though. We need forwards.
Do you know what I don't like? Right. I hope you may disagree with what we say on the canal. That's absolutely fine. But I hope we don't go back on stuff that we have said before. I think this is all stuff that we're saying new things in terms of like perhaps we've reached a point now where we thought the game model was great and now we're seeing evidence that it needs to change. But what I hate is Sol Campbell came out today and said, "Oh, Arsenal don't have any characters." Shut up, man. It's the easiest thing to say when teams are losing. Oh, they haven't got any characters. There's no characters. There's no leaders. There's no leaders. Shut up. Of course there are. There's no leaders. Okay, maybe there's one player that you think or whatever. Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice, Saliba, Gabriel, David Raya leader, 100%. Bukayo Saka. Full of leaders. This team is full of leaders. Jorginho.
Big up Sol Campbell, though.
No, I mean, yeah, fine. But it's just such like a Arsenal losing, get a legend to say that there's no characters and leaders. It's just the United playbook.
Mentality.
So boring.
Yeah.
There's no leaders. I
always thought that. What does Roy Keane really offer outside of the character mentality?
He has been saying the same thing about Man United for 15 years.
To be fair, in a certain aspect, he is cooking, but it's a wider problem. He is cooking with certain things he says, but it's like that is not the driver of Manchester United's problems. And that's where people get frustrated.
Yeah. Right, we're 40 minutes in. I haven't done any of the things I wanted to do this pod. Do we want to talk about Newcastle? I don't. We'll say this. If you want to hear us talk Newcastle, you can go listen. There's another video on the CannonPod channel which we put out today and a rewatch. I'm done with it.
I'm sick of that game. I'm actually still annoyed by thinking about it. I'm sick of it. And I'm sick of it.
Done with it. Let's do this then. I don't know what my drink is. Would you I can still hear you. Can I think I've left my drink in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Can I put something on screen and then you analyze over it, and then I'll be able to hear you, so I can hear what you say, and I
Okay.
can go get my drink because I'm thirsty. Please,
I
guys.
have no idea what you're going to put up. But
I
yeah.
have to sit here for an hour and a half, and it's so hard being a content creator. I will say, obviously, there are hard parts about being a content creator. I won't lie. I
Yeah, tell you like,
hate when people are like millionaires and they're like, "You guys don't understand. I have to make YouTube videos." Shut up. Beer at Monaco for €15 total. Here we go.
I mean, how much do we get from that, though? What do we get?
€15. Is that a joke?
15 million euros, yeah.
Oh, 15 million. How much do we get from that? We got a lot of sell-on clauses, I can't lie.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't really get much from a 15 million sale, to be honest.
Ben White's having a baby. Someone's been busy while he's been injured. Yeah, I can't.
I was going to say something really, but actually, I said something.
No, say it.
I'm not saying that. No, chance. No.
No.
It's too much.
Come on. We all want to hear it, don't we? Don't we, guys? We all want to hear it.
It's so childish. You know when you? No, I'm not going to.
I'm waiting, mate. I'm here. I'm just waiting till you say it.
I can't say it. I'll tell you off stream.
Put it in the private chat.
I'll text you instead.
People are saying, say it. Come on, Rohan. Oh my God, say it.
I'm going to text you it now.
Why are you scared? Is it because your mum watches the podcast sometimes?
No. No, it's just not right. I think people would take offense to it, to be honest. And,
Okay. Pussy. This came out from Duncan Castles, who says, Mikel Arteta went into the season in his strongest position of power ever at Arsenal, having been handed a new 3-year contract in September. That contract, I'm told, was one of the key reasons why Edu resigned as sporting director. He wasn't happy with Arteta's increasing authority at the club. At Transfers Cast. Thoughts?
Sorry, I'm just texting you that thing. So I completely missed what you said. Oh, okay, let me
just read on screen.
Okay,
I haven't got a text.
I was still typing. I was trying to explain.
We'll finish typing, and I'll read it while I go get my water, and then you talk about this.
Can I just quickly? Okay, there might be some silence. And sorry. Okay.
Right, I'll talk. Right, Jesus Christ, you're such a loser. Just
what do you mean? Hey, loser!
Hurry up and text me.
Okay, right.
Basically, I don't buy this.
Yeah, I
think like there's a genuine conversation about whether Arteta has a lot of power. Of course he does. No one's saying he doesn't. I just find this incredibly hard to believe, considering the Nottingham Forest CEO job came up. Yeah, you shouldn't have said that. You're right. You shouldn't have said that. I stopped you from being cancelled.
Do you not ever think that though?
Yeah, I do. Obviously, I do, but that is never say that. Ever say that.
That's why I refrained, and that's why I retracted, because I know the boundaries.
Tom, can you let us know? Has he actually said this? Because I would love that. I just don't buy this, and I find it incredibly. I find it incredibly convenient that this comes out when we're losing. We've lost for the first time in like 14 games.
Yeah.
Don't say anything cancelable. I'll be back with my drink.
I don't buy this. I personally think the reason why Edu left was because he was looking for an opportunity that is better than the one that he has at Arsenal right now. And that is exactly what he's got in terms of the role that he's got at Nottingham. I think it's Nottingham Forest, actually. And I think it's that owner who's he's involved with Olympiacos Forest.
I think Spitz.
So, do you see why I refrained, though? Do you see why I refrained?
From what? The text or from saying he spit? He got banned from spitting for spitting.
Who did?
The CEO, no, the guy who owns Nottingham Forest. He got banned for spitting.
Oh, I didn't know that. And he was one of the first people to get to be publicly announced having COVID, wasn't it? I think it was. Yeah, he was on the first. In football. What year?
Such a niche fact.
He was, though. He was. Chat can back me up. He was.
What, Evangelos Marinakis?
Yeah, I think he was one of the first because there was the Arsenal Olympiacos game. I think there was a lot of rooms. I think it was.
Anyway, carry on. What do you think of this?
No, but I genuinely I don't buy it. I think the reason why Edu left was because the opportunity that he had elsewhere was better than the opportunity he had at Arsenal, and that's how life goes. There's more responsibility for his new role as opposed to the role that he has at Arsenal, and that's all it is. In life, when you are able to get a better salary and a better job to learn more skills and become more just gain more variety in the skill set that you possess, you're going to take that 9 times out of 10, aren't you? Unless there's like certain circumstances that you can't. But 9 times out of 10, you're always going to go for the job that is better. That's all I think it was. That's how I see it.
We would have heard something before. I just this idea that there was tensions that never got out. And everyone knew it, and suddenly, I've been told. I just don't buy it. I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. You cooked, by the way, about Marinakis.
Yeah, he was. I remember it.
I remember he gave Arteta COVID. I remember that.
Well, we don't know if he gave it to him, but he was one of the first people. It was publicly announced, wasn't it? So
yeah, but you're right that we played Olympiacos, didn't we?
Oh yeah, but I thought you were saying
and then Arteta met him. And then he had COVID. So then I was like, well, he gave him COVID.
I think Callum Hudson-Odoi was another one as well, one of the first players. And then it just
Harish, would you guys do content for Man City and quit Arsenal content if you're paid better?
Not a chance. I mean, this isn't my full-time job, so
I'd do it.
This is more of a question for you.
Do it in a heartbeat, mate. If you're paying me Saudi money to do the Blue Moon live every day of the week, see you later.
What about the Cannon podcast?
Out. You'll be all right. If I'm getting Saudi money, I would say anything, mate. I would be like, yeah, mate, Pep's best manager of the world. I'll take it as a co-man. I'd say it all. that comment section would be pretty horrible.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Yeah, I just don't buy it at all. Edu, furthermore, I negotiate with Mikel and Simon. It was my idea. False media reports. Wait, where has he said this? I would love if that. Because I genuinely haven't seen this.
Yeah,
I haven't seen this at all. So if he's literally confirmed.
What was the source anyway? Sorry, Duncan Castles?
Duncan Castles.
TZ source in my eyes.
What about donating your kidney for Arsenal? I would do that, which tells you I'm a strange man who would leave the club in a heartbeat for money, but would also give my kidney.
Don't buy that.
Edu Gaspar. Can someone confirm? Why I'm really stressed.
Why are you stressed?
Because why? Listen. Someone in the chat is saying Edu's said that didn't happen, but
but that's not something to be stressed about, Alexander. It's
I am stressed.
Your point. That's what I'm saying. It's not a stressful thing. A stressful thing would be David Ornstein Bomber saying Arsenal are not signing anyone. That's stress. That's stress.
Where's the quote from?
I don't know. I don't know.
Alex, what do you think about the Arda Güler links? Not what we need.
No.
What do you mean he has said that? That's not a quote. Give
me
a source.
I believe you, Ryan. I believe.
Give me a source, Ryan.
Don't give him a source now. Actually, he's being.
This is why the world is what it is. This is why the world is what it is. Yeah, I don't buy it at all. Yeah, what do you think about this whole Rosicky rumors? And the whole idea of not being, you shouldn't be friends with the sporting director. Or whatever.
I'm massively against the idea of the person needs to be someone that has been previously affiliated with the football club. That it doesn't need to be someone like that, certainly for me. And I think that would be something I wouldn't go along with. I think what you should be acquiring is someone like we did in that podcast before, in which the news came out where the Real Sociedad sporting director was linked to Arsenal. We set out our criteria, and for me, he does not need to be affiliated with Arsenal Football Club as long as he has the CV, the knowledge that can take Arsenal to the next level, the ability to be able to be part of a squad rebuild that has had success, ideally trophies, not just a rebuild that has got a team from here to here, one that has got his team to trophies, the ability to not be a contrarian, but also to not be a yes man, to be able to offer insight in which, there's cohesion amongst hierarchy. Because I think there was a lot of frustration from Arsenal fans where there was that article that came out and said Mikel is going to have his say on this. Of course, he should have his say. If he doesn't have his say, then you're entering a territory in which you have a Sven Mislintat and Raul Sanllehi relationship. Someone who favoured data, the other one who favoured contracts. And it led to a lot of turbulence because you saw two completely different philosophies in terms of how they viewed football and how they would like to recruit. Now, for me, someone needs to have the vision that is in line with Mikel's, but he has more experience than Mikel to know what to do in difficult situations, like in the summer window, for example, in which if Mikel is very keen on this idea, but someone is there to say, oh, this isn't the right route to go down. We need this, we need that. And that's what I think. And it doesn't need to be someone who has been previously affiliated with the football club. As long as their values align with what Mikel's are and what the clubs are, but has his own knowledge and his own experience. I think it should be someone more experienced than Mikel, personally. That's my preference. Then that's what I'm for,
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I think Mikel also spoke recently about the Cronkies and the multi-club model, and he said, like, basically, if they want my opinion, then great. Like, it's I don't think it's. I'm just thinking about it from my perspective. If you worked for a company and the owners of that company were putting a new manager in, putting a new member on the board or something, and you were the manager, and then but then they just didn't ask your opinion at all on anyone. They weren't like, oh, what sort of person would you be after? We're thinking about these candidates. Have you met them or whatever? You'd be a bit miffed. You'd be like, okay, well, I appreciate I have my place in this thing, but I'm the one taking all the flack. I would love to know. I'm not saying I should have the final say, but of course I want a conversation to be had about it. Like, I think that's just respectful. Yeah, I think on the sporting director thing, I'll be real. I would prefer it, honestly, optically, not to be someone like a Thomas Rosicky. But if he's the best man for the job, he's the best man for the job. By the way, optically, I would quite like it not to be Jason Ito. But if he's the best man for the job, he's the best man for the job. I think it sends a really good message for Arsenal if they're the right person for the job. Also, as a message to go and get a Luis Campos to go and do that, because I think it sends a really good message. Now, I retract that if they're not the right person. So that's the most important thing. I just like, if they're not the right person and they were a previous member, it just looks a little bit amateur. It's a bigger risk, I would say. So yeah, I honestly, I don't know. It depends on chemistry. It depends on how things are going. Sami Mokbel put something out today about Jason Ito, who supposedly is really impressing. There's lots of internal people who say they like him and they think he could do well. I think he speaks something like 6 or 7 languages, and he's obviously been at Arsenal for a long, long time, so he knows the club inside out. That's not a bad shout, and it also means we don't have to rush. He is interim sporting director. A couple of people have said, do we worry that... so Arsenal Perspective says, are we being hampered in this transfer window by not having a permanent DOF in place? He's acting as the DOF, so either he's doing the job or he's not. So I don't buy that.
It's like, for example, Thomas Rosicky, I don't know what he's done. I mean, apparently he's done really good things. And if he, like you said, if he is the right man for the job, then I'm okay with that, But my point is that, this idea that he needs to be connected with the football club, I heavily disagree.
Yeah, I agree.
It does not need to be. Some of the most successful rebuilds have featured people who have not been involved with the football club.
Yeah. And sometimes people come into institutions, and people feel this in their own lives, right? They come into somewhere with a fresh pair of eyes, and they go, "Why are you doing that?"
Yeah, exactly. Fresh
what
pair of eyes.
Yeah. Why? And not necessarily that they even change it, but everything is questioned, because it's like, okay, so we do it that way, but I did it this way. Why is this better? Tell me why this is better. I think that's important. So, I think the nice thing is, it sounds like we don't have to rush because of Jason Ito is more than capable. Yeah. I think I would only be concerned if they're going, well, we're still in, like, as in, I won't accept it as an excuse for a signing. If I get a leak from Ornstein, clearly from the club, saying, well, they just felt without a proper technical director in place, that no. Amit, you made up a quote. Amit made up a quote about Edu.
But I still back it. I still back the fact that it's nonsense. Whatever that Duncan Castles will say.
Certainly nonce. We want to do the last...
I can't stop thinking about what I was thinking about and messaged you. I can't stop thinking about that. Dangerous. That was dangerous.
For the last half an hour, I would like to do as many questions as I can from everyone watching this. Over 500 of you watching live. Thank you so much. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, we're going to go to as many questions as we possibly can. Yeah.
Do you want? Should we go for the Discord? There was a couple on Discord which we could
there's a couple
rattle
on
off.
Discord as well.
Yeah. So from Humphrey, he asks, should we be wary about using the XG stat to analyze Arsenal? It feels like the shots that generate a fair amount of XG are getting smothered by two defenders because the defense is settled and a lot are headers. I could just be overreacting to the Newcastle game, but I would take a shot from the edge of the box in transition over a bungle in the box that we poke at a couple of times and gets cleared. Or is it the quality of the players? So it's kind of like, shot location and I do agree with the idea that, when the space opens up just outside the edge of the box, we should be looking to pull the trigger more. And we saw it with Thomas Partey, for example, against Nottingham Forest. We've seen it many times in which the space is opened outside the edge of the box and it gives you a favourable opportunity to strike at goal. How many times have you seen De Bruyne do it? How many times have you seen Trent do it? And we've seen examples of Arsenal as well. But I do think that the point about allowing teams to get back in a settled shape, I mean, we mentioned this about high turnovers and the moment in which we win the ball back. What do we do after? It's not quick. It's not direct how Liverpool do it. It's more a case of we'll look to try and carve open the best possible opportunity, but then that allows the opposition to get back in their shape. But we may be sustaining pressure in that moment. But then you think to yourself, well, we could have generated a big chance like 5, 10, 15 seconds earlier, so yeah.
I think on the original point, I just think it needs to be put in context. I think sometimes what happens is people will go and basically look at the XG numbers and go, well, there you go. That proves that we created enough chances. Or they'll say, there you go. That proves it was a bad game or whatever, as if that, and it's a good measure. But honestly, the Newcastle game, I think it just needs to be put in context. The XG in that game was what, like 3?
3.7 or something, I think.
Honestly, the Timber, Martinelli, and Havertz ones, they're unforgivable. So you might get a 0.6 XG for that or whatever, but it's unforgivable. So it has to be paired with the eye test. In terms of whether it's a good way of measuring Arsenal, again, it just has to go into context. If we're finding that we're massively down in the XG table, but everything else is fine, then I'm kind of okay with it. I'm more looking at probably things like the shot map and the amount of high quality chances and things like that. You just have to go into it a bit more. I suppose my only frustration, using it as a one metric.
For me, the way I look at XG is a very good metric when you're looking over a significant sample size. When you're isolating a specific game, XG is not going to tell you the full story. Like I tweeted out, right, and I watched the Newcastle first half 3 times now, and I still need to watch the second half, but the XG suggests that Arsenal generated big moments and we should have won the game. And I'd agree with that logic. Had we taken one of those big moments early on, the game could be different. But the eye test to me, and when I watched it, is that Newcastle played a very, very good game, and a game that was very aggressive, a game that they did not respect Arsenal's attackers. And I mentioned it, the reason why they went so high in the press, they went man-to-man, 1v1s. I've not seen a team do that against Arsenal this season at the Emirates. They did that because they don't believe Arsenal have the threat in behind to cause them trouble, but also we don't have Bukayo Saka. I can guarantee you, if Bukayo Saka was playing in that game, they would not have been as aggressive because they would have looked to have got 2 players on him, But instead, they backed themselves in 1v1, so they didn't respect Arsenal, and they played a really good game. But XG would say, but if Arsenal took that chance, then it's a different game. But I just don't. I think it's flawed looking at isolated games. But if you look at XG over a season, it's not just about analyzing Arsenal. It will give you a good idea of each team's sustainability, and it doesn't you can't. Is that saying you can't hide away from XG? If you're performing really badly in it, it's going to catch up on you.
It'll catch up.
So,
yeah. It just needs to be put in context, and unless it says good stuff about us, in which case it doesn't need to be put in any context. Forward on Football says we all know field tilt is the best indicator for a game in isolation. Exactly.
What will be the new field tilt that will get you like? Yeah,
the new field tilt. I'm looking at expected threat. with a lovely by zone.
By zone.
But we won the expected threat by zone competition, so it doesn't matter. We lost.
Field tilt is
5-0.
woke, isn't it? Field tilt is woke.
Which it's so, but people still. I've told you this story so many times on the podcast, but people, Lee Gunner took me out of context, the joke, and people are still talking about it.
Lee Gunner actually went for me recently, and I thought Lee Gunner didn't have a problem. It was my Sterling tweet, and he had to go. I thought,
He quoted me the other day. What a guy.
did he?
David, thoughts on how to increase Ødegaard's expected hair flicks per game? Right. I will say, thank you for the super chat, David. 2 things. Declan Rice, get a hairband. He's doing this all the time. And I'm telling you, it's affecting his play. No. But just get a hairband.
Oh, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Ødegaard loves one of those. Yeah, he absolutely loves one of those.
Does.
Calafiori barely touches his hair, and he's got more than anyone.
But that's what I'm saying. He's got a hairband on, isn't he?
Just gets the hair, but just get it done. Both
Yeah.
Rice and Ødegaard spend all their game doing that.
So what you're saying is
bloody
that is
hairband.
the reason why Ødegaard's
It's
not playing
what-
well at the moment.
Exactly. Should we talk? We did have a comment at the beginning about Ødegaard. Should we talk about Ødegaard?
I think we should, yeah. Because
Yeah. Sorry, I just seen a question about FPL. I have not touched that. So just quickly to come to it, just to answer, it's from Rin.
yeah.
Alex, when are you ever going to make changes to your FPL team? Rohan, you're doing great.
I'm actually really happy with what I'm doing.
Can I be so
I'm-
honest? Can I be so honest? I have not opened the app since October. Let me
Oh,
open it now.
we need to share this actually. We need to, yeah.
Who
Chat, where
who's
are
it-
you in the league? Where are you? Let me tell you where
who's
I am.
in my team? Bro,
Where are you?
Saka's my vice captain. I've got Raya, Saliba, Gehi, Guardiol, and Kunku, Smith Rowe, Gordon, Saka, Duran, Solanke, and Haaland captained.
Yeah,
That
but
is
where
a-
are
that
you?
is a
Where are you in the league?
Honking team.
Where are you?
I am in the TCP league. It was technically called the TDK league, but there you go.
There's loads of
TCP
people in
league.
it as well. That's
I'm
so-
657th. That's not too bad.
Okay.
There are some of you out there. I've not touched the app since October who are worse than me.
Boo. Boo. Tell you where I am.
Where are you?
190th.
What a mate.
Cooking, mate. I'm cooking. Do you want to see my team? My team, right? Cooking.
Go on.
I've got Verbruggen. Not the best pick because they don't keep many clean sheets, but I've got Saliba, Kirkez, Porro. Got Ødegaard actually in my team. Salah, Murphy. Murphy was a great pick. Great pick this weekend. Palmer and Buemo, Wood, and Solanke. Had Havertz, but Havertz was ill, so Solanke came on my team, and Solanke got 9 points. See, I'm cooking.
See, my problem is I just don't care.
Oh, Alex,
No, not in that way. No, not as in like you shouldn't care. You can care. I don't mind. But like,
I knew that
just-
was going to. I know certain things that annoy you, and I was like,
What do you think annoys me? What do you think annoys me?
I think when, well, it annoys me as well when people kind of like they make straw man arguments and they just don't read what you put.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And that's one. The other thing, I think it's when. Oh, I don't know how to word this. Actually, I know what triggers you. I could easily make a fake account and I could trigger you all day. I reckon until you block me.
What would you do?
I don't know how to word it. I need to think about how to word it, but I just know. I see. Oh yeah, it's after a loss. Like sometimes when there's like Liverpool fans in your comments, and sometimes you bite back as well. And I think that triggers.
So Liverpool fan, I think I've accepted my fate that I am the Liverpool fan, like the guy that everyone goes to be like, oh, how's the process going, whatever. And I quite like it. I did one the other day that was, and I genuinely just didn't look at it. I was like, I'm putting this out and I'm not looking. And it was about Ethan Wanyeri. I quoted the Fabrizio Romano tweet, and I was like, "Oh, Liverpool fans, are we allowed to say that injuries are affecting our season? Just want to run this past you." And honestly, just like it's all faceless accounts calling me ugly as well. We need to go back to Ødegaard.
Yep.
What should we say about Martin Ødegaard?
He's just not been playing well. I mean, in Saka's absence, he's not played well. He hasn't, and he needs to step up. But that's as simple as that. We don't need to overanalyze it, but he hasn't played well. And when we're talking about it, I mentioned it in the data pod with George. Bukayo Saka the contribution of his goals over the last 3 seasons, 70% of them are in non-winning game state scenarios. Bukayo Saka's assists over the past 3 seasons, 60% of those assists come in non-winning game state scenarios. Forget about the qualities for a second that Bukayo Saka has. But what that tells you is he takes responsibility in critical moments. He doesn't get the third or fourth goal. He doesn't assist the third or fourth goal. He assists. He scores game-breaking scenarios. And in his absence, we saw against Newcastle. A lot of players there had opportunities. Despite all the analysis, despite the things that we weren't happy with, they didn't step up. They didn't take responsibility. And Martin Odegaard is our skipper. And it's as simple as he needs to do better. He needs to perform better.
Yeah. I think about it like there's a lot of games recently, like the Newcastle game, when teams step onto us, he just becomes like an average midfielder. Like when we're breaking down a low block, Martin Odegaard is brilliant. When we're pressing off the ball, Odegaard is brilliant. When you're trying to break through teams sort of build-up wise, he's brilliant. But there's just a few too many game states, I think, like when a team is pressing on, like when it's a running game, like when it's a physical game, that he just isn't the guy. And that's fine. We need someone who is the guy, who is a Morgan Rogers, but basically we need Musiala. That quality to dribble, to thrust, to bring the energy, to bring the running. And then Odegaard can be a bit more drop back, knock it in, passing accuracy 99%, no problem at all, and break down low blocks and whatever. But you can use him more like a key to unlock certain things in a game rather than the guy everything has to run through.
I think
he'll be fine. I think he'll be fine, but because there's going to be more game states than not where he is suitable. But I think in a situation like this, we see the captain's armband, we see the number 8, we think of Odegaard, we think of all the playmakers we've had, and are you going to give us something? And no, that's not. But it's just not who he is.
Yeah.
And I sort of hate that when people, well, we need to put him in the right situation. If we're going to spend all this time talking about Martinelli and how much we need to platform him correctly, sorry, don't put Odegaard in a midfield when it's that sort of game. Like maybe he needs to drop out for a couple of games, but then we don't have anyone else who brings what he brings in certain phases of play. So it's very hard to do that. So you might have to move things around. I quite like him out wider. This little adjustment recently.
I love the player, but I do agree that there are certain game states in which he doesn't suit. When the game becomes very stretched and we're looking at transitional scenarios, Martin Odegaard is not the player who's going to be able to carry the ball through the lines, and give you a lot of potency there. But Martin Odegaard gives you so much in so many different phases. I mean, we just have to go back to last season, what he did. And I'm going to go back to what he's done at Arsenal so far. We're talking about a player who is, in terms of value for money, with Gabriel, Raya could make that soon as well, our best purchases in his tenure, And I think personally, it's a bad spell he's going through. I also think Bukayo Saka, people, if you didn't think this guy was crazily good, then you'll know now as well. And he is missing him, and yeah.
I also can't divorce this idea that we can't push lines back through running from creating enough space for Odegaard to have those shots on the edge of the box. Like if you look at the situations we find ourselves in, we have everyone wanting to drop into his spaces.
Yeah.
And so he has to drop out away from goal. When I think when we were at our best is when we were pushing that line back, so 22, 23, and he could find that pocket on the edge of the box and have the ozone. How many times has he scored from that position recently? He's not at all. I think a lot of it is because Havertz is dropping into that space on the right hand side because Saka's wanting that space or whatever, and Martinelli's not pushing the line back. He's marking the midfielder as we saw on the rewatch. So yeah, again, not to make excuses because he's also not been particularly good.
He needs more runners around him as well. He needs more runners around him. That's when Martin Odegaard becomes a lot more dangerous. And some of his best moments, some of his best passes have come when Martinelli's making that run on the last line in behind, and Martinelli was able to play it into that space. A lot of this team, a lot of players like Kai as well, they need runners, and this is why I think the winger market we need to invest. Because there are so many players in our squad. There's so many players in our squad.
Has to drop out.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone, and Do I say this now?
Chat.
I'll say it.
Yeah, go on. Actually, no, you go. You go for it. Go on.
Sorry, McLovin. It's definitely you, and I'll come to it. I think Kai Havertz's days at Arsenal are numbered. That's not because I don't think Havertz is brilliant. I think he is brilliant.
Didn't expect this.
I think he is a brilliant player. Let me rephrase. Days as our starting centre forward, guaranteed every single game, that is Kai Havertz, are numbered. The qualities he brings you, I think, are amazing. But someone has to drop out. It's simply a case of numbers. It's not going to be Saka. Think about the front five. It's not going to be Saka. It's not going to be Odegaard. That's 2 slots gone. So you're looking at three slots: the left central midfielder, the striker, and the winger. I can't imagine I don't know how he's going to construct it, but I can't imagine Arteta going for a wide player like a sort of Saka's a freak. He's a complete freak. So this idea that we're just going to get this player who is as good in possession as he is out of possession is not the case. We need to kind of compromise a little bit. We need more runners. We need someone who's going to push something back. I'm looking at the market. I'm looking at Šeško. I'm looking at Isak. And we've seen Vlahovic as well. I think Havertz has been a nice surprise for Mikel. But looking at, considering we probably need something in all 3 of those positions, just on balance, I think Havertz is more likely to be the guy who we push further back to allow for a new signing centrally, considering the history in the market. Considering I don't think Mikel is going to go for like a Leao type winger, because I just don't think it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's going to be Martinelli, but this idea that our goals and everything's going to come from the left hand side, I don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah.
So I think he might look more for a number 9. I think the market's better for a number 9. I think, as I say, in the history, I think we're going to buy more of a thrusty central midfielder, which means a different type of number 9, maybe a more sort of last liney number 9. It just feels like Havertz could be the player who Mikel goes, okay, I can use you in other areas. I can pull you into other spaces. I can use you on the right. I can use you on the left. I can pull you back. Martinelli, I can't see that happen. I think Martinelli goes and Havertz basically steps.
But then wouldn't you say?
areas.
But then wouldn't you say Martinelli would be the first player you think is gonna? Was the original point that you're making that? No. Your point was Kai Havertz's days as Arsenal's starting players.
The idea that he is going to be our centre forward for the next 5 years, I just don't.
Yeah, I don't think many would think. I don't think that was always going to be the case. I do believe now. Obviously, he's had a really poor game for me. There is a caveat, and there are a lot of rumors going around that he didn't even train before the game against Newcastle, right? He wasn't 100% there, and we just had to play him. And to be fair, I buy that because he didn't look himself. Obviously, the big chance being the one that's the big moment in there. But I think Kai Havertz is that I'm probably more of a fan than most, because I think this is a player in which we look back to last season, we look back at Arsenal's critical moment in which we were able to hit 100-point pace. Kai Havertz was a massive part of that. And for me, he was our best attacker in the business end of the season. He was even better than Bukayo Saka, our best player. Havertz was the guy in that run who was contributing time and time and time again. And the performances were good as well. And this season as well, he's our top scorer, in terms of goals and also GA as well behind Bukayo. But I think with Havertz, the big thing for me is that he needs competition. We need to bring in a number 9 and a winger. That's where I stand. That's where I've always stood. But I think Havertz, he has become a big scapegoat for a large portion of the season, in my opinion. Sure. I think there's the argument that he's one of the biggest opportunity costs that has really hurt Arsenal. The next available player that we didn't get for Havertz, maybe that a player would have had a bigger impact than Arsenal, or maybe so. But I do think that his time at Arsenal so far, he's got credit in the bank. He does have credit in the bank. And I think that fit and foreign Havertz can still have a big impact at Arsenal. And I still think he won't be the first player who will come out of the team predominantly. I think the left wing position, and as much as I like Martinelli, I have a feeling, and from what Mikel has said and how he sees Havertz as well, he loves Kai Havertz. in terms of the minutes played, he turns up 90 minutes regularly, and I look at his comments about Martinelli, about what he needs, and I'm thinking to myself, well, that's not how we use the left winger, in our system. So surely his days are outnumbered being a starter as well. But it's those two players,
sure,
really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's those. But yeah, you're not saying Havertz is going to be the first one, but you're saying Havertz is his days as a starter outnumbered.
I think so. Just sort of working backwards and just being like, okay, well, what have we done in the market? What problems do we have? Who is on the market? Where could he also go in the team? Because he, that variability. I just don't see it long term. I really don't.
Do you know the thing with Kai Havertz is, when we talk about the £65 million fee, I actually think he's not. I think he's actually been good value for the 65 million. That might be an unpopular opinion. Where I disagree with Arsenal in terms of what they did with Havertz is the wages. He should not have been Arsenal's top earner.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He should not have been, because as much as we invest in the project of Kai Havertz, when you buy a player, you have to look at their previous performances for their last club, right? And Kai Havertz, despite all the turbulence at Chelsea, that didn't obviously help him and has not helped a lot of Chelsea players over the years. He did not produce enough at Chelsea for him to warrant the wage that Arsenal gave him. So I think that, for me, is the thing with Havertz. But in terms of the 65 million, you look across the league, you look across Europe, players go for big money, and Kai Havertz has given more of an impact than a lot of these other players that you mentioned as well. When we're looking at it objectively. But I think the wages is the thing for me, in which obviously, Saka's new contracts, if we sign Saliba on, etc., they're going to surpass Havertz up. But I just think that we didn't set the best precedent there with Havertz being our top earner.
Yeah, I agree. So it's a big financial package.
Yeah,
and I don't know whether he gets another contract at Arsenal, which is another thing. I'm thinking. I just like, I can't see it. I just can't see it. So yeah. V Vlad, what a very kind super chat. Thank you, mate. Thursdays wouldn't be the same without this. You legends. It wouldn't, would it? Absolutely wouldn't. V Vlad, that's very kind.
Actually, I really enjoy. I love podcasting. I genuinely love it.
Good, mate. V Vlad is always in the chat.
V Vlad he's an OG. Or she. Yeah.
Thank you, Rohan.
Yes.
And Emirates Zero says, effing love the show. Big up, Alex and Rohan. Thank you so much, mate.
Oh, thank you.
McLovin, it says, are you not concerned about Arsenal's long chain of command? Probably explains why we take so long to sign players. I'm not concerned. I'm, from everything we read, the
comment previously about aggression in the market, isn't it, as well? It's like,
yeah, I think you can have a system that works with a lot of checks and balances that still acts at the right time. That you don't like this idea that like on January the 1st, everyone goes, "Oh, there's a Windows." Like, if we're gonna do something and we decide on it in October, we can get all those things done. So I don't think that's the issue. Is there too many cooks? Well, it's difficult to say. And if you go to Real Madrid or you go to Barcelona, there's so many people who have to sign on stuff. So I don't honestly, like, I think you're probably better off on the too many cooks side than not enough cooks side. Because if you think about it, it's just a less of a singular point of failure. Maybe things don't happen as quickly. Maybe you might get the odd transfer that really works out because someone puts their neck on the line and says, I will be the individual person, and it really works out. But overall, as a transfer model, I think you want as many people saying yes, data guys, medical guys, board guys, finance guys, like everyone to go, yeah, this is a good signing for it to probably work out. I think what you lose with a bit of agility, you gain with a bit of reliability, I would say.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree completely.
Good. Because if you didn't, you'd be off the podcast. Cesar says, do you still feel like we will win many major honours under this manager? At this point, I don't even feel confident about meeting United this weekend. I do. I'll be real. Like, it's going to take a lot more than a 13-game unbeaten run and a poor showing in the Carabao Cup to convince me that this isn't the right guy. Are there concerns? Of course. But as we've said this so many times, but it bears repeating. When you're someone who's fixed that many issues in 5 years and you've evolved the team that many times in 5 years, I would rather believe that you're the guy who's going to, and you've given us the sample, the 16, 17, 18 game sample at the back end of 24, 25 of basically perfect football. If you get some windows to go and correct that, I back you to go and correct it. If, by the way, this is a big thing, if Mikel gets back let's say this window and we go backwards, yeah, big questions, huge questions, of course, because then we're saying the stuff that he needs to be given in order to succeed. He's got, and now he's not succeeding. That's the question. Of course it is. No one's saying that, but I am still confident.
I mean, we've had, and I kind of like repeat myself a lot sometimes with certain points, but they're very valid. Like 22-23, we saw what Arsenal are doing. We saw what happened in the absence of Saliba, and then Tomiyasu went down. But look at the way Arsenal were playing. Look at the performance. Look at the sustainability. It was all there, despite the concerns in terms of being overly vertical, conceding chances at times as well. And then last season, we look back to key moments in which we didn't win the league, and we go all the way back to December. We go back to that cluster. But the fact that we went back to December should tell you how it was the finest of fine margins. We're looking at Chris Wood moments. We're looking at Heung-min Son moments. That for me should give you confidence that he has it, and he's made a lot of mistakes for sure. He's made mistakes this season. I maintain it that the driver for this season as to where we are and as to why we are not close to Liverpool is more down to injuries and certain decisions that we've had against us. I maintain that is, I think, the key driver. But that's not to say Mikel hasn't, cost us in certain games. He has. But overall, I think the evidence is there for me to still feel confident. And a loss against Newcastle in the way that it was, and it was bitterly disappointing for me. I may be more frustrated than others actually with it because of how it kind of unfolded. And I don't buy too much into the XG in that game. I didn't think we played well overall. But I just think that he's got a lot of loads of credit in the bank, loads of evidence there. And despite the concerns we have in terms of things we can do better from a coaching point of view, two people who have never coached in their life, by the way, giving him advice. I maintain that. I maintain that attacking quality, bolstering the front line, refreshing it, will solve so many problems. Yeah. Despite the things that we've said about, we can do certain things with our wingers stepping a little bit higher, cheating more, etc. Our rest attack being better structurally. I maintain if we add better quality forwards, we'll cook more. I'm convinced. I'm watching Leandro Trossard and Martinelli and Havertz against Newcastle. So many moments thinking, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm looking at other forwards in the league. It's just you just understand the decision making. Like I saw Callum Hudson-Odoi, I saw Alanga, some of the decisions they were making. I don't think our wingers outside of Saka are doing what they're doing. And then I'm looking at teams like Bournemouth with Semenyo doing things that I don't think outside of Saka we do that. They have that quality. And you can go across the league. There is a strong case that Arsenal's front line without Bukayo Saka, there's some question marks about it in terms of how many teams have better front lines. So attacking quality for me is the driver. It is the driver. Yep. And let's hope we do something.
Bloody hope. Let's bloody hope. Yeah. Matthew said, if both of them leave and we still don't win, it's Arteta outright. I presume referring to Martinelli and Havertz because there's no excuse after he gets everyone he wanted. Well, yeah, I mean, we have to have the conversation. We have to have the conversation at the time. But if ultimately we sign Isak and Kvaratskhelia, not that I want that, but let's say Isak and Barcola, and we still stink out the gaff, then it's a conversation.
Do you know what it is? It's like, okay, obviously with the summer window, it's not looking good at the moment, especially the fact that none of our new signings featured at all against Newcastle in the semi-final, which is not great. But do you know what I think? So obviously people are looking at Arteta made the sandwich, in terms of, he's talking about box efficiency, he's talking about clinicality, and that's something we're lacking. But then he size Gabriel Jesus, who has always underperformed his expected goals, Kai Havertz, who has underperformed his expected goals, and they're saying, well, he made the sandwich, he has to deal with it. But I don't buy that because it's like Mikel Arteta has spent in line with all the other big clubs, barring Liverpool, who, by the way, before Mikel Arteta's, before the moment Arteta signed, they had purchased, Van Dijk. I think it's big money signings, Alisson, etc. But he's spending in line with all these other clubs. So why shouldn't he be able to rectify some of those mistakes that you have? Why shouldn't he be able to? Why should we handicap him because he might have made mistakes in your eyes? Surely he's shown enough to warrant more funds being available. That's my argument for it. It's like, but Mikel signed Marino, Mikel signed Calafiori. Okay, but we're still spending in line with all the other clubs. So should we not be able to? Should he not be allowed to spend more? That's where I stand. So,
and that is. In terms of the spending, it's just one of the biggest myths about Arteta that he spent way more than anyone else. In terms of total expenditure summer 2019, Chelsea spent 1.787 billion euros. United have spent 1.122 billion euros. Tottenham have spent 957.75 million euros. We've spent 944.6 million euros. City spent 900. City, who already had their squad, didn't they? By 2019, they had De Bruyne and Silva and Edison and Walker and everyone. They've spent 921 million, so 20 less than us. And Liverpool have spent 547 million, but I would argue again, similarly, they did their big outlays on the Van Dijks and the Alissons and stuff. They have done better, and they are more economical than us. But we're basically probably the fifth most. You can make an argument either way. Economical team in the top six.
Yeah, I mean Liverpool,
exactly.
This is what Liverpool have been fantastic. Fair play to them, but we are spending in line with our competitors, with the so-called Big Six. So why should he not be able to spend more money? That is the argument I have. This idea, we keep going back to certain deals. Okay, fine. Let's say it is a mistake. Let's say we've made a mistake there, but why can't he spend more money? He's shown more than enough to be able to be given that freedom to spend money. That's where I stand on it. It's like, yeah.
Pedro Neto says Hans Walker. Not for me.
No. I think there's better out there.
Final super chat from LT. I'm assuming your name is not Pen. I'm assuming that is the currency. If there is not investment this year, the most probable outcome is to regress. Also, the fan base will create a bad atmosphere if there is no change.
Yeah.
I think we are approaching a very, the point in the project where it's like, okay, we all want results. We've waited, we've been patient, and we've seen progress. Yeah. We have to be patient, but I do think the Emirates is starting. I mean, we saw people leaving the other night, and you could say, okay, it's a semi-final and it's late, etc. But it's also the manner of the defeat. I think I'll be so real. I think we might do something in the January window. It won't be something that people think is enough.
Yeah.
We're not going to do Isak. I have heard from quite good sources, and actually multiple sources, that Isak is genuinely the plan for the summer. And I wouldn't be surprised if we go and do that in the summer. But to go and sign that player now is probably, that sort of player now is probably impossible, and we have to go a little bit lower. But if we don't do that in the summer, things are going to start to get toxic. And actually, fair enough, I think, for a lot of people, because it's like, look, we've come on this journey. We've seen the growth. We've missed out massively twice. That's okay. And, most average fans will be like, that's fine. But then if we don't, from this position, capitalize, it's not just the Arteta project. It's also it's the Wenger years as well. It's the feeling of just missing out again and again and again. And it's funny because we think, everyone just misses out. Honestly, other teams like Chelsea have proper down periods, then come up and win things. Spurs are Spurs. Liverpool obviously had that period, but they've always had a bit of European success.
They don't win the cups as well.
They've won things recently. United have done well in the cups. Obviously, City is City. So we are in quite a unique position in terms of just being other than Spurs, the other nearly men. And I think that will translate into things, and it will translate into a feeling in the team, because it'll go back to that same thing where 2017 or 2012 or 2008, when it just felt like we needed two more players, one more player, and that will translate. And so people naturally, fan groups, focus groups that I'm sure the Cronkies listen to on Arsenal, will be going, look, it's going to turn. Sorry.
It's natural, isn't it? When you get so close to something, you want it so badly, and you think, "Oh, it's just a few little things. We've made so many steps to get into this position. Now you just need to do that extra bit. And if we don't do that extra bit, fans are going to be frustrated." And to be honest, that's why people will still downplay the Carabao Cup. I really wanted to win the Carabao Cup. I can't see Arsenal overturning this. I think we're out. That's the feeling I have. St James's Park has always been a place we struggle at under Mikel against Eddie Howe, and that's why I was frustrated, because it was kind of like, this is a really good opportunity, and we can obviously still do it. But for me, it's like it was a really good opportunity to get to a final and get closer and closer to silverware, to give this squad a boost. For me, I said it, this squad needs to know how to win. Well, it needs to know the feeling of winning, and they don't at the moment. That is the reality. In terms of lifting the cup, any cup, they don't know that feeling, at Arsenal. And that's quite sad, because they're so good. And they haven't got there yet.
are.
But and this is where, like, it's kind of like, so I was talking, like sometimes people are like, oh, XG, who cares about XG? I actually buy that in a semi-final. I buy that because it doesn't matter. It does not matter. One team's going through, the other team's going out, and the team that's going out, nobody cares what they created. And I completely buy it in a semi-final. Like,
cup competitions is where my most Paul Merson analysis comes out. So I don't care. We could, and this is why I was so annoyed on Tuesdays, because like it was just such an Arsenal league game in a cup semi-final. So just stop being naive.
And we've
seriously.
we've had a favorable run to get to this position.
We're being
honest.
We probably had the easiest we had probably had the easiest fixture we could have got in the first leg, a home fixture against Newcastle.
Without Bruno Guimaraes and Fabian Shaw.
Yeah.
Whichever way you want to look at it, it's not great. And that's why you have to always sometimes. That's why I try and be as unbiased as I can. And for me, Paul.
I don't. I'm biased. I'm biased because I love my club. I love this football club. I kind of want to go on AFTV and do like a proper rant.
You do that.
But do it in character.
Just like, yeah.
Pretend I don't know. Like,
don't reveal your identity.
Yeah.
Your identity. Yeah.
Yeah. This bald, I've got to go.
I think we should leave it there. We're getting dangerously close to 9:15.
Rohan shutting down.
And I want to watch more of Squid Game.
Yeah.
Do want to
spend some effing money. Right. Guys, to end the show, we're going to do a prayer circle. I want to see this emoji in the chat. Or actually, if you want to do the other one, because it suits you, that is fine too. Or prayer beads. I want to see all of this. I'm going to lead us in prayer. Okay? Bow your head, please, Rohan. Bow your head. Dear our Lord and Saviour, Mr. Stanley Kroenke, give us this day our daily good players. We thank you for paying the wages of Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus. But now it's time to pay the wages of some proper forwards. We look forward to the expansion of the Emirates Stadium. We're grateful for your support of Mikel Arteta in these trying times. But now we need you more than ever to create some magic for us and get us over the line this season. Thank you, Stan. Amen. Can't wait for someone to take that out of context. Can't wait.
We ain't doing anything in January.
Thanks, Josh. Prayers up. Stanley, we know you're watching.
We've got to do something. We can't go into the next run of games with this front line.
We won't. Believe. We're going to manifest it now. Arsenal are going to sign a forward. Say it. Say it with me. Arsenal are going to sign a forward. Say it with some conviction. Arsenal are going to sign a forward.
Arsenal going to sign a forward.
Say it with some conviction. I'm not letting you leave until you say it with conviction.
Oh, watch Squid Game.
Say it with some conviction then.
Arsenal are going to sign.
Say it with your chest.
I can't.
Manifest it. Manifest it. Manifest it. Manifest it.
I've manifested before, nothing's happened. So maybe if I don't manifest,
it's going to work now. Say it now.
Arsenal going to sign a forward.
Thank you for watching. Thanks for being here. We love you all. See you next Thursday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for keeping it Arsenal.